Father, we thank you for allowing us once again together at the Hillen Road Improvement Association meeting. We thank you for all those that are here and all those on their way. We ask you blessings on our guest speakers today, and we ask you blessings on all those that are here to hear what has to be said about our neighborhood. And we pray that everything we do in this meeting will be pleasing to your sight. Amen. Tonight, we are privileged to have Dr. Wilson and Northwood with our association here as our guests. And we passed out 3 by 5 cards. If you have any questions, write them on the sheet and somebody will pick them up. We're not going to get into a discussion and answering session with Dr. Wilson or staff. But we will ask questions. Now,
I'd like to make a motion, Mr. President, that we suspend all regular business.
second. Because we're probably moving the second that we suspend all regular business. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I will suspend with all regular business. At this time, our moderator, Paula, will.
You pretty much has indicated that we will have the 3 by 5 or whatever card, index card to indicate the question that you have. We wanted to make sure that people understand that there may not be full or complete responses to your question, but to the best that they can give you an answer, it will be given. And if we have to do follow-up for the future, then that's what we will do. We also just ask that you respect all speakers and give them an opportunity to indicate what the new ideas or innovative ideas that's coming to the Northwood shopping center. We are very pleased to see that there's something positive happening at the Northwood shopping center. And we would wish that everyone, not just in here, but that has anything to do with the shopping center, meaning in Hillen Road and around Hillen Road, that you would support the ideas that we all come up with in support of us to make this a great success.
Tonight, we have Councilman Robert Kern from the 3rd District. We had Council Lady Sister Mary Pat Clark from the 14th District. And is anybody else here from any other political district? Dr. Wilson has arrived.
Somebody know what?
First of all, let me say good evening to everybody. And I apologize for my tardiness, but literally I'm coming in from Annapolis, where we had our last budget hearing today on the capital budget for the university. And so hopefully that went well. We understand that the decision day in the House is tomorrow, and then in the Senate later on in the week. So with that in mind, let me kind of bring you up to date with regard to what our plans are at the university in terms of the capital expansion. Since I just testified in Annapolis for additional dollars to enable us to continue to expand the university. So I want to do that, give you some sense of the way we're thinking about the physical expansion of the campus. But then I want to just say a word or two about overall growth plans and how we're sort of moving with that. And then, I do all this in very short order. And then I want to talk with you about how we could actually become even better neighbors. Meaning there's some things that I'm seeing that are closer to the campus that are spilling out into the community. And I think it may serve us well if we're even not just on the same page, because we always have been, but if we could even now move to be in the same sentence. So let me start with the capital piece. We are looking to complete the new business school in the summer of this year. And so we're pushing forward to complete that school on time, which will be before August of this year. And we are looking to complete it within the prescribed budget. So we were able to get the state to appropriate $80 million for that business school. And we'll bring that project in on time and a little bit under budget at this point. So that's the plan, and the plan is to open the doors to the building officially in the fall of this year. So students will be having classes over there, they'll move in while they're away during the summer, and that's the plan. Very attractive, hopefully nationally award-winning building over there. Then, I'm going to take the opportunity to informally invite all of you, and through Ellis Brown, we would like to formally extend an invitation to all of you to attend the groundbreaking ceremony on April the 30th. I think that is going to be at 10 a.m. on April the 30th for the second building that's going to go on the Northwood shopping plaza. That's going to be an $80 million new behavioral and social sciences building. For those of you who are familiar with the Morgan campus, this building is going to be the Jenkins building. So that old brown building that you see on our quad, that building is going to be raised. And all of the functions in that building are going to be moved to this 6-story new behavioral and social sciences building. And we will break ground on that building April the 30th at 10 a.m. And we invite everyone in the Hillen Road Improvement Association area to attend that opening at that time. We then are asking the legislature to provide us with the dollars to enable us now to complete the planning and the design of the third building that will go on the campus within the next couple of years, hopefully. And that building is going to go on the corner of Hillen and East Coast Spring Lane, where the old Soka Library was, right there. We took down that old brown building next to the Richardson Library. That's open space out there now. That's the space for a new student services support building. And so all of the functions, what we call the front door functions to the university, admissions, financial aid, the registrar's office, all those offices right now are over here in that old Montebello complex that really is giving us all kinds of problems. And we're propping that building up. I don't want to prop it up too much longer because it's costing us millions of dollars to prop the building up, and the building has no use to the institution long term. And so we have to build about a $75 million building on the corner of Hillen and East Coast Spring. And we want to be able to have that building completed, designed, if we get the dollars that we're asking the legislature to appropriate within the next year. And as has been our custom, when we go through a design phase for the new building, we will come and we will touch base with you and get your input into the design process. And Ms. Provence has been working with you and with the other officers here very, very well in that regard, because we don't want to put up anything in the community that, number one, is an eyesore, and number two, that does not have community input. And so we will be coming to you asking for your input as we design the next building on the campus. So the last piece is that there will be a bridge that will come across Hillen Road. It will connect at the 4th floor of the new business school, and then come across on this side of campus around the tennis courts. And so if you go down Hillen Road now, you see there's some work that has already begun on the tennis court side. You see these holes that are being dug there to basically accommodate the columns for the bridge. And then it's going to elevate across Hillen Road and connect to the new business school. That's, believe it or not, a $5.5–6 million bridge. And it will be, it will carry the colors of the university. It has been designed to be an orange and blue bridge, hopefully very tastefully done. And we saw all kinds of input into that process, and it took a lot for us to get there, right, Ms. Provence? It took a lot, but we listened and we went back, and the architects listened, and eventually we came forward with something that we think the community and the university community is going to be very excited. So let me just leave the Northwood Shopping Plaza because with Mark Rimbaugh, we're going to come back there. But let me just say that we own 9 acres in the Northwood Shopping Plaza. So if you were to come to the new Behavioral and Social Sciences building, if you were standing in the Northwood Shopping Plaza looking toward downtown, the new building is going to go to the right of the business school. And so we own the rest of the property all the way to Argonne Drive. And our immediate plan is to basically just treat the rest of that as green space while we determine what type of building, third building, may go on that site. But whatever goes on that site, we don't want it to morph these 2 buildings that would be on the site already. So that's the Northwood Shopping Plaza. Now, within the 5-year plan, we are asking the state to consider another building on the corner of Argonne Drive and Hillen Road, where the armory is now. And so we want to raise the armory, the red brick building, and put a building there that will house the School of Social Work and the School of Community Health and Policy. And the School of Community Health and Policy right now is being housed in the recording studio that is right behind the 7-Eleven up by the Suttville Laundry. But we want to collapse those schools and then bring them together in this one area. So the long and short of it is that within the next 5 to 7 years max, this area of the university, what we call now our one of our major gateways, is going to be completely redone. And it will have a completely different feel to it. And this area of Northeast Baltimore will increasingly become, hopefully, a destination for individuals who visit in our city, to visit, to take in our history, take in our natural resources, and also for families who want to move into the area, purchase homes. We see that with these investments that we're talking about making on behalf of the university, that there will be positive consequences for our neighbors in terms of home values and attractiveness and things of that sort as well. Now let me just say a word or two about the growth of the university in terms of students and others, and then quickly we're going to get to Mark so we can talk about the way the university is excited about and interested in a possible partnership with the owners of the Northwood Shopping Plaza to develop the rest of it. We last year had an increase in our student enrollment here at the university. We saw a 2% overall increase. The rest of the state, we saw a decrease. We saw a 19% increase in our first-time students and freshmen. We are retaining more students at the university than we ever had before. We had retention rate, and that is the number of students who come back to you as freshmen who come back to you as sophomores who started as freshmen. We had the highest retention rate this past year in the history of the university. And we've been able to string together 4 straight years of retention rates here in the 70s, and that's something that has never happened in the Northeast Baltimore history. And so we are making great progress in that area. Our graduation rate has slipped to an all-time low of 28%, and so it's now up to 35%. So we've been able to increase the graduation rates here by about 20 to 30% over the last 3 or 4 years, and that is really pointing us in a great direction in terms of our metrics. We also have made a conscious effort to bring more international students onto campus, and also to increase our Latino student population. And so this past year, we had a 10% increase in our Hispanic population on campus. And we also had another 10% increase in our international student population. And so we have 7,700 students now. And of the 7,700 students, roughly about 7% of those students are international, and they come from 63 countries. And so if you walk the campus, you get a feel that we are a bit more diverse in terms of representation of white students. We also saw a slight increase in our white student population as well. But diverse in terms of white students, international students, black students, because all black students are not alike. They come with different backgrounds, if you will. And so just because you're one color doesn't mean you're not diverse. And so we have to get that across as well to the majority of our students. But 28% of our student population right now is other than black. And so we want to continue to grow that population, but in a very selective way. In our strategic plan, we call for a population of more than about 12,000, but not 12,000 bodies on this campus. We are putting together a strategic plan right now to grow online enrollments, where for many of you anyone, you may want to come back to school and get another degree, but you don't want to sit physically in a classroom to do that. And so we want to put more degrees online so you can stay at home and take those courses, and then maybe come to campus, who knows, once a week or once every 2 weeks to check in. And so that's sort of where we are in terms of growth. Because of the fact that we have been paying also more emphasis on research, we've been able to attract about $70 million in new research money in the last 4 years or so. The National Institutes of Health awarded Morgan a competitive grant in November of $23.3 million. That was on top of a $28.8 million collaborative agreement that we were able to win from NASA. And we are very, very hopeful here in the next couple of weeks that we're going to extend that agreement for another 5 years. In total, that will have brought to the university over $60 million in that time period. And so, we are really excited as well to see that the institution is being competitive and winning some of these grants. From there, let me just say a word or two about how we could, not just be on the same page in the same book, but move to the same sentence. Most of you might know that that when I arrived here as president, one of the things that I saw on the campus at that time that disturbed me was that litter was everything. I was just not used to that. I'm sorry, I have to say that. Not to brush it up, but I was not used to walking on a college campus and seeing just paper strewn all over the place, and students not seeming to care. And so I think after a week or two, I kind of had enough, and I went down to the 7-Eleven, and I bought some garbage bags. And I decided to walk the campus myself and to pick up the garbage. And a couple of students saw me, and they were sort of lowered by the fact that they said, "You're our new president." I said, "Yes." I said, "Well, why are you picking up trash?" I said, "Well, because it's on the ground. And it's not supposed to be on the ground. When you put it on the ground, you're facing the history of this place. This is your home, and you don't do this at home." But as a result of that, I'm very pleased that the students organized themselves and said, you know, wait a minute, if the president can pick up trash, clearly we have an obligation to keep the campus clean. And so they organized themselves around a concept called Team Up to Clean Up. And that's still going on now. It's the 5th anniversary of Team Up to Clean Up. And I think if you walk the campus now, you would be hard pressed, you know, to find garbage lying all over the place. Now, I do know because I have once a semester, I walk through primarily the Hillen Road neighborhoods. I walk the streets, stop at homes, and knock on the doors. And sometimes they invite me in. I go into the living room, and we sit down and we talk. And I do hear that our students, many of them are still not being good neighbors, and they are opening their car doors and dumping trash on the street there. And so we have some more work to do with our students in terms of helping them to understand that the university in and of itself is not exclusively the community. That the community is something that is much, much, much larger than the university. And so you can't just stop at the university. You got to get out here and you got to basically take any kind of attitude with regard to cleanliness beyond the campus itself. And we're still working on that. So this brings me to the piece about what it is that we can do to present on the surface, if you will, a different kind of image of our community. And so, with all due respect to those of you who perhaps are living in the houses from the back of the business school, back to the softball field, the ones that are facing the road. There's a serious, very serious trash and garbage problem. And I said, you know, I hope you don't take our comments here as being critical, because what we're saying is that with the millions of dollars that we are investing, we want individuals to come into this area of Baltimore and basically leave with a lot of ahas and oohs as the most exciting, the most attractive place in the state, with all due respect to the other areas. And this piece, if you will, the frontage, is just not going to. And so I want to put on the table whether the university with you could lead an effort, perhaps within the next 3 weeks or so, as spring break comes to an end, you know, where we just set aside a whole weekend and kind of concentrate on that area and clean it up. I mean, really clean it up, and then see how we can work with the residents, or if I think it's a high rental area, with people who own those homes.
Hillen? I'm sorry, you said Hillen and where?
It's the property that fronts Hillen Road from the back of the new business school, where the wall is. Mm-hmm. Okay, all the way down to the corner of Hillen and Colston. That area.
Oh, you're talking about where the
What's he talking? Wellburn.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. And I don't know because I don't know if it's something that we can do jointly with the city to make sure that the city is, you know, picking up the garbage at the times that the city should be, or what. And I had even asked to put on the agenda so we can come and talk with you as well, whether we might want to consider some kind of I'm not going to use the word wall. I would say some kind of like deciduous trees or something like that. That would be very nicely done. That could line that whole area to kind of give it a different kind of feel, if you will, where you know you're not just looking directly into someone's backyard.
I'm not explaining that well, but I hope you.
Yeah.
Yeah, the area that I'm talking about.
I believe that is city right of way there from the wall that's there now. I do believe that is the city right of way from the point north of the school business along the west side of Hillen Road is the city right of way. So there can be some project that we can do both with the university and Hillen Road to spruce that up.
That would be great, Councilman. That really would be. And what we would do is we would extend our hands initially to just a massive cleanup with you. And to go through and clean that up, and then if the city can put that in their plans in terms of, you know, some really nice, attractive, like cedar, shrubbery, the cedars that will grow a little tall and they kind of grow together over time. I think that would really kind of.
I mentioned Alex give me those addresses that will abut the western edge of that right of way in the cul-de-sacs that go there. If you understand what I mean, Paul.
Okay. And then the last comment I would make here is that I'm really impressed with this with the Hillen Road Association, and I would just ask whether the association might want to bring, you know, some, I hate to use the word pressure, but those houses in the 1600 block of East Coast Street, I think about 98% of them are rental properties, right? And I don't know if the owners feel that they are being held to a higher standard. And I tell you, they are becoming an eyesore. And we're ready to work with you, but I think as an association, we hope that there will be some way in which you could put, you know, some kind of pressure, you know, on the individuals who are owning those homes that, look, you know, this is not what we want in our neighborhood. And if the homes are presenting themselves that way, I think even I've seen some of our students who are living there. Well, if the homes are looking that way, the students kind of, I think, go into that with a certain kind of attitude. And then, you know, the attitude is not, you know, this is the property that I need to absolutely maintain in an appropriate way. I need to bring the right kind of behaviors to this, if you will. But it all starts with pressuring those home owners who are getting the income from those properties and are not investing one limp penny, it seems, back into it, to take greater responsibility for that. And as a university, we will work with you in any way that we can to make sure that our entire community is presenting itself. So with that said, Mark Rinbaum and I are here because we really want to share with you the thinking on the part of the university, primarily now with Mr. Rinbaum as the developer of the rest of the Northwood Shopping Plaza. Get your reaction and then bring you up to date as to where we are, and then field questions that you may have. And so at this point, I'll turn it over to Mark, and we can talk about plans and chime in to appropriate and address any questions.
Thank you.
Again, we're asking that people will write their questions on the index cards that's provided. If you do not have an index card and want one, please raise your hand.
I have a blank card. Anybody else? Any other questions?
Just a minute. In a minute.
Watch out for that guy.
In a minute. 1 minute.
Mark, how do you spell your name? How do you spell your name?
I'm
Good evening, everybody. Thank you all very much for having us here this evening. Dr. Wilson, thanks for your excellent remarks and update. This is what I feel like the person who spoke after Lincoln at the Gettysburg Address. What it feel like. And it reminds me of how incredibly blessed we are to have Dr. Wilson and this incredible team that is really taking Morgan State to a whole new level. And it's our job as a developer and the joint venture partner of the existing owners of the shopping center to take what we all know as Northwood Plaza Shopping Center and to match the quality and the energy and the first-class job that the university has done and transfer that over to the shopping center in such a way we hope that in a few years no one will really know where the shopping center ever begun and started because everything is looking so good. I want to introduce myself. My name is Mark Renbaum. I think I know a lot of you, and grateful again to Paul and Howard for having us out here. Our company is MLR Partners. We're a Baltimore-based development and investment company, and we are the joint venture partners of the families that have owned the Northwood Plaza Shopping Center for many, many decades. And we as a company spent a couple of years talking to the owners of the shopping center about creating change because it's necessary, and this entire community is a gem, and the gem needs to be recognized. And so we see it as a developer, and we are really thrilled to be working with Dr. Wilson and the university. We brought a concept plan, and we're going to. We are in the very, very preliminary stages, and when we say that this is a concept plan, it should be noted that it is truly a concept, and it is.
Pass it to
And it's very evident of the vision that we want to create for the university, for the community. We have in mind that Northwood Commons, which is what we're calling the shopping center, will really be a town center and a gathering point for Northeast Baltimore. And that we've had meetings with folks that not all great developments have to be centered around the Inner Harbor, that there are some great parts of Baltimore City that should have great development. And so this is the vision that we're starting to create. We also have a site plan to show an example of how we would like the project to work. And, you know, again, we note that this, again, is in concept. If this were a baseball game, we're in the early innings of the game, and in the early innings is where we want to get all of the feedback from the community. There are several stakeholders that are involved in the shopping center that goes well beyond the owners of the shopping center. This is a community asset, this is a city asset, this is a university asset, and all of the stakeholders, this is very important. And so as we embark on the process of remaking Northwood Plaza Shopping Center into Northwood Commons, we as a development team not only expect, but we really demand to have a lot of feedback from the community. And we can get very specific as we move forward together as to what kind of bubble gum everyone would like to see in one of the shops, what kind of pizza everyone likes. This is going to be a town center for the community. And it's gonna be here for a long time, and we're excited about it. We have been working together, with the university, for many months now, almost a year, in terms of looking at how the shopping center and the university can not only benefit by virtue of this project, but both be elevated from their current positions. We'd love to think that when we're done with this project, and the brochure of every incoming freshman, there'll be an example, a description of the shopping center as an amenity for the university. And as we branch out and have a successful shopping center, it isn't just for the university, it becomes for the community. So, this is a brief overview. I know many of you have questions, and it'd probably be better to field some questions and we can get into more specifics.
Okay, one of them says, if and when will the project be completed at the Northwood Plaza?
So, that's a great question, and I'd love to say tomorrow. And that's where our head is, okay? We are working with the university, and Dr. Wilson can certainly chime in as well, but we're ready. We're ready to move as we have the the proper structure in place. So we hope that will be no later than a fall of 17 opening. That may depend on a couple of things, but as of now, that's a schedule that we're trying to hit.
Okay, how will they be disposing of the trash in the shopping center since they have removed the dumpsters?
Well, as you can see from the rendering, the shopping center itself is going to be completely raised. So not only will we be removing any existing trash, we're going to be removing existing buildings. So they will be, we'll employ green building practices to the extent that there are materials that can be reused. They'll be hauled off to proper disposal areas.
Are there any plans to buy the houses directly behind the shopping center?
No.
That's a quick answer.
I mean, we can certainly entertain it. I mean, it's just not something that's been brought to our attention. But if that is something that we can benefit from, all of us, well, we should absolutely entertain it.
Okay.
And it's not in the university's plan.
Okay. Did everyone hear that? It's not in the university's plans either. What is going to be done to the Northwood Shopping Center wall?
The wall behind the
one on Argonne.
All the way around.
At the garage.
So I'll take a shot at the way we're thinking about the 9 acres that are on there. Right there on the corner of Argonne and Hillen, there is a red brick wall.
Yeah.
Oh, not that.
Yes.
Yes.
Right, and so, so you notice that red brick wall had also extended, before we started the business school, along Hillen Road as well. And so, our plans are going to be in concert with, what the developer is going to bring to the table, but it's not to maintain the existing red brick wall.
Oh, good.
It is, when we were thinking about this initially, it was, we think that red brick wall was put there because when cars park and they have the lights on at night, it prevented the lights from shining directly into the homes there. And so whatever would go up there would be high enough to prevent an intrusion of lighting and all of that from residents who will be parking there, into the homes, and it has to be aesthetically pleasing. And so that's the way we're looking at that now. we are now in the middle of what we call a massive landscaping project along Hillen Road on the university side. And that started with the extension of the Morgan Wall. And so if you come down Hillen Road now, you know that we have extended the Morgan Wall, which is this very attractive kind of brick and kind of wrought iron piece all along the frontage of the campus.
Stone, isn't it?
It's stone, yes, it's a Morgan stone.
Not brick.
And purposefully, we did not put it in front of those buildings that we are going to tear down. Because you would have to kind of build it, and then all of a sudden, in 2 years, you're tearing it down again. That's not a good use of the resources. We have to stop that, project, of course, because of the weather. But you're gonna see that start again shortly. And there's gonna be shrubbery and colors and a different shrubbery wherever you come, down Hillen Road. It's just not all gonna be drab. There'll be, it's just gonna show that this is a community that cares about itself. And so one thought is that we may take that theme and also run it along Argonne as well.
Good.
Because the bottom part of that could be tall enough to prevent the lights from actually shining into the homes.
Okay. So you're talking about the stone kind of and black wrought on.
Yes, that's one option
Okay.
that we would consider. It depends on how expensive.
Okay. How will community associations that border the shopping plaza have input, or is the design already decided?
No, I mean, that's why we're here. Again, to use the baseball analogy, it's early innings. All the key stakeholders are part of this process, with the community being a major stakeholder. So we're all ears.
If housing is to be provided on the plaza, will there be plans to ensure regular cleaning and trash pickup in the area? And will there be picnic and playground equipment provided for the plaza?
So,
Excuse me, but could we have a description of what's on the board?
sure.
I'll hold it and talk to you. So you want to solve the first one conceptually and then go to the pods?
Probably easier to do.
We'll do this one first. Okay.
And so, Dr. Wilson, I apologize for interrupting at this point, but there's one thing that hasn't been explained to any of us, and that is, what is the relationship of Morgan to the developers in the new, and what is now the plaza? I mean, what involvement is Morgan going to have in that beyond what's over on the east side now?
Okay, we can address that a little bit later after we go through here, and we will not leave until we address that.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, very clear. And so, Mark, you can talk and
Yes.
point it, or you want to get over here?
I'm happy to. So,
Excuse me, could you stand in front of the table, because a lot of people are from the angle. Right.
So this is one out the streets here. So this is
Black Raven Boulevard.
That's the
Front Raven. And here's Hillen, and obviously the University West campus right here. And so what we're looking at, by the way, we do not own the gas station, and that the gas station parcel is in black and white. So we're developing around the gas station.
And McDonald's? No.
I'm sorry.
McDonald's.
So McDonald's is currently right about here where my finger is. They have a very long-term lease, and in order to free up the real estate, we are working with McDonald's Corporation to relocate the existing McDonald's onto a pad site that would front Black Raven Boulevard.
That is not going to be.
So if you want to just allow the developer to walk through the entire area.
Sure.
So our project is a mixed-use project where we are proposing in the concept plan to have a street-level retail where there would be almost like a main street where there would be shops and restaurants and all kinds of great retail amenities. And we are proposing and talking with the university about a student housing component that would sit atop one of the retail buildings. Similar to some other projects that have been done in Baltimore City as well as nationally, in terms of it's considered like a new urbanism kind of trend, and it's been extremely successful. You can see projects like McHenry Row locally, and obviously several projects all around the harbor in Harbor East and Canton that are also very similar. And that's what's also shown, as you can see in the rendering, where there is street level retail, a very, very vibrant space with shops on the bottom floor, and then we would have student housing and some parking, a parking structure on the project as well.
And so one way of looking at this and addressing your question is that we have been in discussions with the developer about a concept that could mirror in some way Charles Village, where in Charles Village, Johns Hopkins has arrangements there where the students actually live above Barnes & Noble, the whole block, if you will. And then they have another arrangement down there.
The lofts.
It's not the narrow grade. What's the name? Chipotle as well. You know, where
Right.
and you probably barely notice it, but it's a very attractive way of both housing students and residents, and then providing retail space for those for not just the students but for the entire community. And so conceptually, this is what Mark was talking about in terms of how the university then might, let's say on this north retail or the south retail, have housing above what would be the first level retail.
How tall would that be? How tall would that be?
Total of about 6 levels.
We would, certainly have it no taller than the university building. We have not done a massing schedule yet to determine height.
But just going from that drawing, 6 levels.
7.
6 stories.
7, Gary.
It looks like 5.
Five,
but again, this is
five above
a
retail.
concept. This is it's a concept plan. And,
I just remember that the business school is 6 levels. Right. So it starts 6 and then it comes down. And then the building that's going to go next to it is also 6 stories as well. And so I think what Mr. Ringbaum is saying is that the way the developer is looking at the rest of that is not going to be any taller than what is currently there, or what will be there.
No, so basically, the way the shopping center is now, it's down below our houses. Like we sit up on like a hill, not a hill, but right. We're up like grade. Right. So these buildings will be taller than our houses. So instead of it being like this, it'll be like this now.
mm-hmm.
Do you live on the
So Mark, that would not be the
Yes.
case.
Yes.
For example, so these are your houses back here,
Right.
right?
That's
And this would be north retail, right?
Yes.
And so if conceptually you place housing here at the south retail, above the south retail, which would be where the parking deck would be on Argonne.
so it would be closer to the Argonne side.
Yeah, that's a conception with the houses looking into the
shopping
Shopping
centers.
Correct.
Okay.
Then, even if they went 4 floors or so, you in back here are not gonna be blocked because you would be elevated. You would be if the developer then also placed housing back here, but I don't know if that's in the
Not yet, no.
Yeah.
Yes, sure.
NITA and a number of other organizations got together in 2008 and
That's
did
one of the
design
questions.
charrette.
And that's
No.
the question that I was going to.
Well,
It says,
Paula,
has
we'll
the-
get to that then.
Has the design team reviewed and taken into consideration the results of the 2008 design charrette? And is the tenant leasing term,
Team. Tenant leasing team.
something, the kind of tenants that pursuing the kinds of tenants that the community, indicated they would like to see in a revitalization, in a revitalized center?
No, the answer is an emphatic yes to both.
Okay.
We are just as excited, if not more, to have every one of those. That's who we're going for.
I asked that question because in some of the earlier information that we were getting over at the original Northwood in our community was that second tier grocery and retail were being mentioned. And frankly, we don't want it. And I'm talking about all, 14 communities around here, or roughly that, who participated in this charrette. We have better demographics than they have around Belvedere Square. The things that we want are at least as good as what are wanted over there. I know there's a perception here because a lot of the areas immediately around us are black, not white, that maybe we can go with dollar stores. And that will not be tolerated. Our money is just as green as anyone else's.
So, we agree.
Okay, good.
Right, and
I like to hear that.
And so understand from the standpoint of the university as well, that we rejected from a visionary perspective a number of the concepts that were put before us since I've been president. Because it was about kind of moving old furniture around in a halfway rewrapped space. And so that did not fit the vision that we had, because we had the same kind of sentiment as you, which is our students here in Morgan deserve no less than the students at College Park, or the students at St. Mary's, or the students anywhere else. And our neighbors deserve the same quality as well.
Yes.
And so that's why we were excited about what we were seeing here, because that matched, at least from my perspective, what we were seeing. And I said this to the developers directly, is that, look, as president of the institution, I would not take anyone over to the Northwood shopping plaza. And I need a space next to the campus where when we have visitors, or at the end of the day, if I wanted to say to a faculty member or call you up or whomever and say, look, let's get together for a cup of coffee or a glass of wine, or to sit outside and enjoy dining at fresco, that there's a place to go for that, and you don't have to jump in your car and drive 5 miles. And so that's sort of what is being proposed here. Otherwise, we end up with a dollar store in some new space. And that's not what I think.
I have one last comment, and that's it. And it goes to this whole village concept. I know that Hopkins and that area over at Homewood has been pointed out as perhaps part of this model, where the university has a bookstore there that's obviously open to the public, Barnes & Noble, and housing above.
Jim, can you
There-
speak up just a little, please?
Yes.
Yeah, we're trying to hear your question.
There is a major difference, though, between what happens over there and what happens here. And it's the nature of the housing around. Over there, even on St. Paul, you've got, and Charles Street, you still have non-student housing. And in fact, over Chipotle, those are owned by individuals who have nothing to do with the university for the most part. I know when we were in this design charrette, we wanted the village concept in here. But we wanted to see in the way of housing, and frankly, Dr. Wilson, we never talked about student housing here. I don't know whether it simply didn't enter our minds, or we said, well, do we really want students over here? But we were thinking about average Joes, anybody who worked at Morgan, who worked at Good Sam, who worked at Hopkins. A lot of the generators around here have people who would love to live right there and walk downstairs and get a cup of coffee and, you know, kibitz with their friends. So our concern is, you know, we're worried about student housing. A lot of us are. And I think if this is goes through with a portion of it as student housing, Morgan is going to have to be mighty careful about what happens there, and that we don't discourage others from coming in.
We don't want to get into a personal dialogue.
Yeah.
Write it down, and you'll address it from there. In the meantime, explain what your concept is, and then we'll deal with all these questions and things that relate to.
But it is kind of difficult for us to write the question after we have heard, you know, before we've heard about the project.
Do your best. Okay.
That's not a very good answer.
We're gonna try to stay on target. Right now, I think that let us at least finish the explanation that was asked for regarding these concepts here.
Yeah, one other thing to add on the site plan is if you see the transition area between the Morgan portion of Northwood and the shopping center portion of Northwood, it's not just symbolic, but it's very practical. Our design is to take the energy from the campus green amongst the buildings and to have it infused right into the main street. We really do want everyone, as you're walking from the university buildings to throughout the shopping center, to really have no idea where one begins and one ends. Again, it's to transfer over the amazing quality that the university is producing onto the shopping center. So it's not just symbolic. These projects ultimately are meant to at least look as if they go together. One is academic and the other is more amenity retail, but the idea is that they work together. Do we want to hang these up and do more questions?
Okay, I think we're gonna do more questions. Anybody else need any cards for any other further follow-up questions they have? Okay. One of the questions is, what is the status of on the current McDonald's location?
Just said that one.
They have a long-term lease. And a lease is a contract, and they first of all, McDonald's is one of the best companies in America. But McDonald's will be part of the project for a long time, and as we noted in the concept plan, in order to facilitate the much more expansive development that's shown in the area where McDonald's currently is, we're proposing the relocation of that pad.
Can McDonald property can be bought from somebody?
So
or no?
McDonald's doesn't own the property.
Correct.
They have a long-term lease. So,
You have a question? I'm sorry, that was a question. Hey, how are you? Yes.
I'm asking you to write the question down, pass it in.
Okay, the question that I have right now is, why is it being considered for the location that you're suggesting on Argonne, the McDonald's?
McDonald's.
Why definition for Argonne and Lock.
That's Lock Raven, not
Raven.
Argonne.
I mean, I'm sorry.
It's
Lock
Lock
Raven.
Raven.
Not Argonne.
Okay.
Just from a practical standpoint, when you take a look at the footprint that the existing McDonald's has on the site with the drive-through, it occupies so much physical real estate of where, again, in the concept plan, we're proposing a lot more activity and connection to the Morgan West campus. And if we were to keep the McDonald's drive-through where it is, so much of what you see here just couldn't be done.
Mark, you would explain the second
Right, and so we're just showing two pads along Lock Raven. The top one, at this point, we're discussing with McDonald's corporate to relocate, and then the bottom is just a future pad.
To make it clear, that's the current green space that's on Lock Raven, both of them.
That's right.
Just want everybody to realize that.
So the plan is to take the green space away?
Yes.
Yeah.
We don't want that.
It's a PUD though. Public input.
Okay. The two fast food outlets are placed with the current plans.
The same question.
Oh, you already asked.
That's the same.
Okay.
Can we read it?
Yes.
The two fast food outlets are placed within the current landscape green space setback area. Why?
First of all, of the two pads, only one of them right now is contemplated as fast food, which would just simply be the relocation of McDonald's. We certainly haven't done any public marketing yet of the second pad, so we don't see that as
The
fast
question
food.
is more about location than use.
Sure. So as we addressed before, again, McDonald's right now takes up all of this room right here. And if we were to keep it and not move it, we wouldn't be able to have any of this right here. So it becomes choices. And so do we want to consider a choice, which would be to recharacterize a lot of the green space here that understandably everyone has gotten very comfortable with and gotten to know? Do we want to recharacterize that space by creating so much more of the amenity street space that we're creating in the project? So while we understand that there is that green space that everyone likes, we're hoping that in what we're proposing that there might be something else to consider that might also be nice, which is in the new format of the shopping center.
Okay. Will McDonald's be completely rebuilt to match new Plaza architecture?
I hope so.
Will there be a UC University bookstore in the Plaza? And will there be a playground?
With regard to the university bookstore, we are exploring whether we should be looking at a segregated bookstore. Our bookstore right now is on campus. When I say segregated, I mean moving the bookstore away from a campus building and have it as a standalone. What would that mean? So we now are looking at this from every possible angle, and we certainly have as one option floating what we call a request for interest on the part of individuals out there to give us a proposal as to what it would look like if we decided to move in this direction and have a co-branded Morgan State bookstore with another entity in a location like the Northwood Shopping Plaza that would provide a greater opportunity for residents to take advantage of what would be in that facility, including, you know, Starbucks or a gathering place for the community. We don't pick up in our current bookstore much traffic from outside of the campus. And so we're taking into account all of that, and certainly if the plans fall in the right direction, we certainly would be entertaining the possibility of having a bookstore in that location.
Could McDonald's stay put be diminished by trees so that it blends seamlessly with the concept, similar to the way McDonald's looks in Reston and Columbia?
He really went over that.
I understand the first part of the question is that could McDonald's
Say where it is.
So, I mean, as we've answered before, you know, it's a series of trade-offs. And the other question was, it sounded like we're hearing towards architectural standards, and that's what we want.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we want the highest aesthetics in this project. We want to be very clear here that, we are.
All right, we being rude. He's trying to talk.
We want the highest aesthetics for this project. We want this project, we want people, not just all over the city, but all over the state of Maryland to say, look what Northeast Baltimore City's doing. And that's the standard that we're holding ourselves to.
Okay, and I think this might be the last one on the list. Will pad number 1 and 2 have driveway entrances on Loch Raven? For the, I guess it's the McDonald's.
Right, so as of now, we are, our plan is to keep the existing shopping center entrances as they are, and to not have any other means of entrance into the shopping center than what currently exists today.
Did you explain though Havenwood would not be a throughway?
Correct.
Okay.
I see.
Everybody understands that Havenwood would not be a throughway. You could not go
Will not
from
connect
Loch
to Hillen
Raven
Road.
to Hillen Road. Okay.
But you could come.
You can come
All the
onto
way to the
Bowley
end.
or Loch Raven onto the
Right, you can come
shopping center.
in on Havenwood.
That's right. You can come in on Havenwood from Loch Raven. You can come in from Argonne Drive.
So it still would be the same.
Are you working with the 2 churches in this project, since they have been burned down and seem to be having some financial problems in repairing the building? Loch Raven and Sheffield and Loch Raven and Cold Spring.
We have not been in touch with any of the churches, nor have they been in touch with us.
What happens to the store owners in the shopping center?
Well, we hope a lot of them will be part of the new project. We want to have a great combination of both national and local merchants that offer both the combination of what folks enjoy about Chipotle's and Starbucks and those kinds of merchants, the restaurants, as well as what makes projects so unique are those restaurants or merchants that are really local to the community that everyone has grown to love. So we obviously are hoping that a lot of our merchants will be part of the new project as well.
This one is 2 different questions on 2 different parts, but it says, what is the master plan for the total area between Morgan and its Hillen Road community? And what's planned on a larger scale for the intersection of Cold Spring Lane and Hillen Road? What is the master plan for the total area? What is the master plan for the total area between Morgan and its Hillen Road community?
Well, actually, that's what these conversations are designed to promote. Is this greater vision of Morgan and Hillen Road. And so this is within the context of the Morgan Community Mall. And we heard from scores of you over a year and a half about ways in which this university must be in greater relationship with the neighbors. And so what came out of that were 4 things. One was that
we needed to go down an economic development path, because we saw that as a great opportunity to have small businesses grow in this area, to have money turnover in our own community. And so this is designed to do that, because the Northwood Shopping Plaza is presenting itself as the best opportunity to achieve that particular goal that you said we should pursue jointly. Then you said to us, we also want a greater town-gown relationship between the university and Hillen Road Improvement Association and other associations. And that's why we've been walking the streets, that's why we've been listening to you, that's why we are having the conversation we're having with our students, to develop this great art town-gown relationship. Then you said that you wanted this relationship between the university and the community to grow more around the area of health and promoting those activities and that type of education that's going to lead to a healthier community, to decrease hypertension, to decrease obesity, and those kinds of things, smoking cessation. And so those kinds of things that lead to a healthier community, and so we're doing that. We got 2 major grants to help us within the smoking area. And so what we are doing here is the next step in cementing that vision between Hillen Road now as our closest neighborhood across the campus and the university itself. Now the second question is, what's our vision for Hillen and Cold Spring? I have to say, it is greater than what is there now. What is there now is unacceptable. And so I put this on the radar of Kim McCullough to work with you. So we come up with a great partnership about what we are going to see, first of all, just right there in terms of the streetscape, if you will, because that says a lot. The aesthetic says a lot about the place. And right now, that's not saying a lot about us. And so that whole intersection is just so poorly designed in so many ways. And as we have more students on that area, on that side, we need to pay a whole lot of attention, to that. So that's on our radar, and we can't share with you in concrete plans because we have not done our homework and come to you to begin to solicit ideas from you. So when we share something, it is a shared vision of what we both see.
Does the university have any plans to purchase homes, some of the homes in the 1600s West Coast Spring, and perhaps convert them into housing for sale?
I can't say that at this point.
Okay. On the west side are a few Korean grocery stores. They offer a large variety of high-quality produce at affordable prices and other foods unavailable on the east side. Can we have one here?
Is that, we'll answer try and answer the question, is that we want a first-class grocer that can offer great fresh foods and vegetables and quality meats. I mean, we just want a first-class grocery store. Period.
Yeah.
Does everybody know where we're showing the grocery store to be in this?
No.
So, this is where we're showing the grocery store, which is somewhat similar to where it is now. But the size of this grocery store is more than double the size proposed as the existing grocery store in the shopping center. And there's certain grocery stores that don't go below, that are to 20,000 square feet, and there are others that are 40,000 square feet or larger. This is the largest grocery store box that we can fit in this current concept plan, which has the Main Street retail and all this great activity, and that's coming to about 40,000 square feet. And everyone should know that we have this plan in front of every top-tier grocery store in the Baltimore, Washington area, with the exception of one, which is Wegmans, because their boxes are, they would have to take the entire site and still wouldn't work, okay? But we have this in front of every top-tier grocery store, because that's what we deserve.
What and where is designated parking for the shopping center?
Well, we're gonna have parking all over. This is gonna be a very active project, so, in order to entice grocery stores to make a significant investment, not only in a new building, but also in operations, first-class operations for the community, you have to give them a big parking field. And so we've tried to give a dedicated parking field as large as possible to the grocery store right in front of their building. And this is very standard, and this is really how you entice them. And frankly, for all of us as shoppers, this is where we would want to be as well. We are showing a lot of parking along Main Street, or what we're calling Main Street. And we also have some parking to the side of the grocery store and to the side of the North Retail. We also need to provide more parking to entice a lot of the first-class retailers to come. Parking is a very, very important thing to retailers, and the more they have available to them, the more likely they are to come to the project, which is one of the main reasons why we have structured parking in this blue area right here. That would be parking available, additional parking available to retailers, as well as parking available to student housing or any of the housing concepts.
That's a parking deck, right?
Yes.
350 spaces.
2 levels?
Is that about 3-4 levels?
So, because of the unique grade of the shopping center, to have the parking here actually kind of works well, because it's almost like you can build into the hill. So there may be some parking that are below grade, and then some, levels that are above.
What type of identification marker will the shopping center have?
Hopefully a really good looking one, and several of them.
Okay. Hopefully we're winding down. How will this affect property values, and will there be any black businesses?
Well, I think property values hopefully should go up as not just the result of our very significant investment, but listen to what Dr. Wilson said. Morgan State is big time, and it's just spreading its tentacles throughout it's a great catalyst for Northeast Baltimore City. So I think everyone should be really pleased with the level of investment everyone's talking about.
Will your project increase property taxes for us?
I know that the Plaza Shopping Center, property taxes will go up, because if you take a look at how it looks now, the assessments are gonna go up for it to look anything at all like this. And I mean, it's our goal to make a very significant investment to create something great. Not only will the shopping center taxes go up, but we also hope that there are a lot more sales that are being produced here, a lot more jobs that are being produced here. So from a positive way of looking at taxes, a lot more activity here is inevitably going to cause there to be more taxes, period.
What effect will this be on seniors and homeowners?
Well, we hope that we're creating much more better community amenities that we currently don't have right now. So for some of the concepts that we're talking about putting in the shopping center, we all could go there right after this meeting. I don't know that the shopping center, as it's currently configured, offers the same potential that what will be here. So for everyone, seniors and juniors, I think there'll be more amenity, fun, community engaging spaces.
Okay. Can you talk about the blue-orange rectangle facing Argonne?
That's me. I need you to talk a little bit more about what people that live in my district across the street are going to be looking at.
So we're still in the planning stages of that as well. What we can say is that whatever is gonna be, on the exterior, is gonna look very nice.
Is it a garage wall?
It is a garage.
It's a garage.
Correct. But it's gonna have to look quite nice.
You're not kidding.
Yep.
So far, we got a garage in McDonald's.
Mark, following up on Mary Pat's, will the residential or upper level building come over the parking area? It looks to me like,
Hold on, let me
I'm
say
sorry.
something. All the questions that you had asked tonight,
Need
might
to
not
be
get the
righted.
answer that you want. Everything that's being said is for further discussion. So we don't want to get into a personal opinion of what's going on. Ask the general question that's going to be germane to the conversation tonight. And hold on saying
For when?
future meetings.
Future meetings.
This is not final.
Okay. Will the shopping center have a security, a police officer?
We are actually working right now, both with the university and Baltimore City Police, literally as we speak, to set up meetings for however preliminary it may seem to all of us talking about a project 2 years in advance. Security is going to be a really powerful part of our project. And I can tell you from past projects that I've been involved in, where coming into it there were security issues. Our general strategy is to have an overpowering security presence, whether that's in the form of police officers, off-duty police officers, private security, more lighting, more secure areas. We have sometimes these everyone's got cell phones, right? But we have these little phone kiosks with a little blue light, not because they're necessarily so practical, but when you create an environment that has a lot of safety devices, safety features, whether that's a car you're driving or a place that you're walking, it says to anyone that wants to maybe do something not good, this isn't the place to do it. Eyes are watching you. And so that's really part of our security program. And we're getting started as we speak. Right now, to set up a meeting for a project 2 to 3 years down the road. That's how important security is to us.
The Brooklyn, New York Whole Foods has solar panels shading their parking lot and other progressive green energy sources built into the design. Can that happen here?
I would love all of that to happen, starting with the Whole Foods. In terms of solar, a lot of that is really dictated not by the developer in as much as it's dictated by the operator. So Whole Foods and Starbucks are among the most progressive and outstanding retailers in the world, and they have green as part of their DNA. So we want to incorporate as many green practices as possible. One of the first things I said at the outset is when we work on the demolition of the existing shopping center, one of the first things we'll look at is can we reuse, whether it's a sub-base or anything, can we reuse the existing material before we just pull it off somewhere else? So everything we do is going to be thinking about reuse, recycling, be-green. A lot of that's written in the code, and a lot of that's just good business.
When will the lights be fixed to sell Northwood?
It's just ghetto. It just really is.
This
It's
evening,
ghetto.
I'll call the property manager and tell him to get off.
Yeah, please do.
What can MSU do to improve? What can MSU do to improve the Marble Hall apartments and paving on Telway?
That's not my question.
To improve the apartments and paving on Telway.
Dr. Welch, you want to answer that one? Yes. Since I lived on the 4200 block in Calais for 56 years now, Court 6 and 7 are the apartments for the mortgage students. We have the street is not a city street. It's a street not owned by the city but for public use. And being that nature is afforded all the amenities of any public street. They get potholes filled, they get the street sweeper coming up tomorrow morning, on our side, the evening side. That being said, due to recent criticism years ago by getting things done in Kelway, from folks outside of the community, not my neighbors, there looks like the street will be paved maybe in the next paving season, not this coming season, because it is a street not owned by the city for public use. It's not a private street. My neighbors and I live on the west side of Kelway. We're glad to have Morgan as a resident there, the apartments court 6 and 7, because we get the Morgan police very diligent over there. The issues with parking sometimes on the students, but since we're on spring break right now, we have no problems. They're going to be, they have done what they can do with the apartments on court 6 and 7. About a month ago, they started putting the trash cans outside on the east side of Kelway. That lasted one day. Because years ago, they tried to put the dumpsters out there, and I contacted, not the Morgan folks, but I went to, actually I did, what's that, call you on that? But that lasted one day. They were putting the raw dumpsters on the east side of Kelway, and that's not going to happen because dumpsters attract other things. So the street should be repaid maybe in the next year and a half, hopefully. Resurfaced, not repaid. It won't be as well done like the 1400 block of Havenwood was reconstructed. That, if folks know what that is, that's the block that comes in west off of Lock Raven. That was reconstructed, not repaid. That actually is not a city street too. There's actually a street owned by the apartments. So it actually comes on the same category as a street not owned by the city, but for public use. So that was reconstructed. Kelway will probably resurfaced probably next year.
Are there any plans by Morgan to expand the hospitality program with the hotel at the Northwood site?
Yes.
Yay.
So, on the 6th floor of the new business school, if you pay attention, we will have 10 hotel-style rooms on the 6th floor. And we will be putting together a business plan for those, because there may be an opportunity if you have relatives coming in for holidays or whatever, that we may be in a position, Mr. Brown, to follow on. So if you wanted to lease one of those rooms, rent a couple of those rooms for visitors coming in, we may be able to offer that to the community. But with the new business school, we will be looking to increase our enrollment in the hospitality management program. Was that the intent of the question?
Yeah.
Okay. Could I just say one other quick thing about this, Mr. Ryan? In the new business school, as well as in the new behavioral and social sciences complex, we have programmed into both of those facilities commercial space. And so this is not going to be a competition with what you're hearing from the developer. But soon after we open the business school, we will be sending out an RFP for someone to come in and basically run that commercial space. And this provides, you were talking about black-owned businesses, women-owned businesses. We are putting it out there right now because certainly we want you to spread the word that you have individuals who are interested in competing, putting in a proposal to operate that space. They would be welcome to do that. With regard to the business school, there will be an opening for that space into the school itself on the first floor, and then an opening onto the shopping plaza. So in essence, you can close off the space when the school is not open, and still have the space open to the larger hall. And the same is going to be true in the second building as well. So we're looking for an entity that will provide an opportunity to dine outside as well, because that space is going to be a patio-style space that will spill outside of it.
And where will the armory be, or will Morgan spend ROTC, since you're thinking about raising that, the armory?
No, we would actually relocate our ROTC program. We would never, ever not have ROTC on campus so long as we get permission every year, because that is a glorious part of our history. We actually have produced more generals, more black generals than any other university in the country except Western. And so, we want to continue that tradition, and we'll just relocate the ROTC program to that facility.
All right, that was our last question, and first of all, before I turn it back over to our president, I just want to thank everyone for the questions that you did send forth so that we could have them addressed, and I also just want to thank each of the panelists for trying to at least give an answer at this point, because it's very early in the stages and nothing has been set in stone. But I also wanted to say that there are meetings that's being held. Dr. Wilson tries to meet with us as a community, not just the Hillen Road community, but the surrounding communities. He has done that ever since he has been the president of Morgan State University, and I really thank him for that. The other thing I wanted to say is that the four communities surrounding, or really kind of abutting the university, original Northwood, new Northwood, Stonewood, Kentwood, and Hillen, we do sit down with Mark Renbaum to go over some of our concerns, or even just to hear what they want. And I believe that these things will continue. They will hear the give and take that we have. We've already said that they were going to get some pushback on the McDonalds, so that was not something new to them. I just want you all to know that the questions you're raising, we're raising them also. Anything that you want us to raise, send us an email, let us know. And that's on all of the communities that are represented here. Again, I'll turn it back over to our president, Howard.
Well, I want to thank Dr. Wilson. Taking time out of their business schedule to make sure we are informed. I want to thank all of you who came out tonight, and I hope that this will not be your last meeting if you're part of HRIA. If you belong to your neighborhood association, go to your meetings. It's important for us to be informed people. There's enough people spreading rumors. It's important for us to be informed. So I thank all of you for coming out tonight, and I want to know that, let Dr. Wilson know that trash has been one of the things that's been on our minds for a good while. We are in concurrence with anything to let people be aware of the fact that we don't live it. And so with that, I'll accept the meeting to adjourn. So move motion. Second. Okay, probably move second. All in favor? Aye. Have a good night. Thank you. Very fast. Excuse me.